It'll take a couple of minutes, but seriously, everything's such a blur. I just remember it's 7/7, and the only reason I remember it was 7/7 is because I saw you after I woke up, and I'm told to get up and do this every day, no matter what, and I've struggled a couple of days in the last 2 weeks, which has been super intense.
Yeah.
And so the reason I remember it was 7/7 when I canceled on you and a couple of people, I guess, because you put up a post, and I know you're real tied to the gateways and the different things. I don't keep my finger on it, but so, and I was thinking about that this morning. I've only got one show. Okay. I can do this. I was flat on my back. I was incapacitated. This energy came in. I mean, just, it's the same thing every day now. It's like, how do you proceed when everything is moving so fast and your ability to learn is fast? Your presence is expanding, and there's a whole different language.
Yes.
It's weird. Hey, Valerie Elsner. Valerie Elsner is in the house. I canceled on her on the 7th of July.
All divine, Todd.
Yeah, I think everybody's starting to get that.
Yeah, I just go, oh, okay.
I would say I woke up today saying there's a great purification going down. Mm-hmm. There's a purification, and we've heard that term for all of our lives, but everything takes on a new meaning now. And I don't know. I just have a feeling you might be able to speak to that.
And it's funny because thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Hi, everybody. Aloha. I never know what I'm going to talk about. Although I did ask because I was wondering what people wanted to hear. But I do feel there's going to be some language. As many of you may know, I do speak a lot of different languages, light language, original language. I'm feeling there's some language that wants to come through today, so I hope that's okay.
Right on. No, man, this is Soulogy. Anything's okay. F-bombs are okay.
I tell you.
Mother Mary's okay. Everything's okay.
Only because I feel like, many of us, including yourself, we've been on this journey for so long. I was looking at 2012, a lot of energy from 2012. Of course, we're in 2021, so there's that funny meme about the Mayans being dyslexic, right?
Yeah, right.
They meant 2021. So, and you mentioned purification, which so many of us have had to go through different levels of purification, and over again, because our crystalline bodies, our light bodies have had to release whatever it is that we've been holding to bring in these layers of light. And so, for me, people ask, well, we've been talking about the same thing for 9 years, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, do we have peace on the planet? Because that's one of my barometers. Is there peace? Because if there's not, we still have work to do. Maybe not as individuals as much, but the collective does, right?
Mm.
So
there's got to be a relationship. I mean,
yes, of course.
As time's gone on, we've all come to understand how much of it, because it's not anything singular. I mean, but how much of it is energy based.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can actually follow the patterns. We can get the messages more clear now.
Yes.
And I think about the COVID thing, quarantine.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how people went into solitude, and the energy of the individual in mass going into solitude, mm-hmm. and the energetic impact that would have on the earth. So you've seen this kind of inverse reaction to the action, ill-intended. I'll put that out there. And the beauty and the magic and the grace of it.
Yes.
And now I'm at a point where I'm thinking, okay, I can see that. But
Mhm.
now I see so many people saying, okay, you know, we've been tired before, but I'm pretty fucking tired now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I put out a couple of appeals to my team in the last couple of days, and I've gotten a good response.
Mhm.
But I'm not going to take this carrot on the stick, not from this matrix and not from what I know we all
Yes.
comprise ourselves of. It's our decision. But I just, getting back to what I was saying, is that I feel like the energy of that feeling, that emotion, that beautiful kaleidoscope being funneled into a singularity of the expressions that we are in this moment,
Mhm.
with no clothing on, just buck naked to the soul,
Mhm.
that's got to have an impression. Almost like, this is okay, guys. We threw the dice one more time. Let's say that was May or March or something, right? The
Mhm.
equinox or the solstice. Let's
Mhm.
throw it one more time and let's maximize the potential. I don't feel like I feel like that's got to have an impact,
Yes,
regardless. You know,
it does. And that's beautiful insight. And you know, at the end of the day, many of us, because I wake up and do, you know, I wake up and I'm asked to post stuff and tune in and talk about things. So it's like trying to put words to a lot of the energy and what's happening. And that's one of the beauties and the gifts that I, you know, had that awakening or greater awakening in 2012, as many of you did who are watching. And it's a lot of the remembrance has been about, you know, that took years, right, Todd? It's like, okay, you woke up, now what? Who are these people? What's happening? Oh shit, my family. They don't get it. They're not supportive. Oh, I have to leave my husband. Oh, uh, I'm going in this direction. They're like, what the hell are you doing?
mm-hmm.
So, and honestly, I've been preparing my whole life. My dad started, you know, preparing me unknowingly, maybe, you know, when I was little. So this has been a journey. My entire life has been a preparation in
Yeah.
some ways, you know. So
Do you feel like that there's a final preparation occurring right now? It feels.
well,
I mean, let me ask you this: if you could measure 2021 compared to the first 6 months and 11 days of 2021 compared to 12 months of 2020 in quantum measurement or linear, I don't even care.
there you
I
go.
mean, does 2021 feel how what's the difference between 2021 and 2020 in your opinion?
Well, it's funny because in January of this year, I heard, or the end of January, February 1st, I heard the year just started. And so you said it, we're not in linear time. And time is you know, made up of a series of events. I talk about timelines a lot. So, you know, I heard, oh, this is the beginning of the year, February 1st. Only in that we're still measuring on one level in this old calendar, but many of us are not in that calendar anymore. We're operating in a non-linear way. So it is one of those, you know, what day is it? I had no idea what day it was today. I mean,
I'm right
right?
with you on this.
Without
A lot of
calendars.
people have come on the show and said the same thing. Time's been fading in I mean, it was before, but I mean 2020 and 2021.
Yes, that's a big difference.
Time just took on a whole different role, and it's
Yeah.
fading. It's doing something strange, but yeah.
I'm going to speak language. Tanda chambanda hundai kokatna lai tan sa hutamba la mahotoe and lahato varate ta mahatamba kokalande sal tiamba takot samba chomba ne and borandai okai sat okate tatamba Samba no handai. You know, and I'm in this body called Valerie, but I, you know, exist, and we all exist multidimensionally. And so it is like, wake up, and what wants to come through today, right? We are those avatars of this divine awakening. And many of us are carrying pieces from Atlantis, Lemuria, ancient Hawaii, you know, ancient grids, dragons. We've talked about dragons before. So many of us are here in different levels of remembrance. When I had that greater awakening in 2012, it was huge. It was divine feminine. It was so powerful, Todd. I mean, I joke about it, but I'm telling you, the energy that was coming through me was so intense. It moved me out of my marriage. It moved me out of my house. It was intense. And I knew, though, it was what I had asked for. This divine feminine, this power, this awakening, more of an empowerment, you know. But I had to go through some shadow work too, as many of us have had to do, because when you wake up to, oh, I have this imprint of Magdalene, right, or whatever it is, Yeshua. Well, there's some pain and there's trauma that comes with those blueprints, with those energetic signatures. And so a lot of us, you know, have had to run those cycles out in these bodies, in the bodies we chose to come in, right? So, so yes, the time is quickening. It has been since 2012. That's what 2012 was about. We opened the gateway in 2012. That was the opening for a 7-year cycle, 9-year cycle, right? Because the time, it's not about the time, it's readiness. Are we ready individually and collectively to be witness, to take part, to hold space for this awakening that we have all come here to bring about?
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. I was talking to a friend today, and I don't talk to many people. Like I always say,
Same.
if I'm not on this show, I'm not talking. I think a lot of people can relate to that right now. Yeah, so I was talking to a friend, and it was along the lines of what you were just talking. Oh, I was telling her that the last 2 nights, was it last night or maybe it was the 2 nights before? No, it was last night. That's all right. It was last night. So it was the last 2 nights. I've gone to bed, and I was explaining to her how I was trying to, like you said, there's no words. It's hard to find words for this. Mm-hmm. And so it was a connection where I went to my highest point. Mm-hmm. And I was in a place where I said, basically, you know my heart's desire. I know my heart's desires, right? And I heard, well, then don't go looking for them. Mm. In other words, if you know what's true, it's true. And go on about your business, right?
Yeah.
Because you're sending 2 different frequencies. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now. But I basically got in this space of saying to him, I can handle it. I wasn't really saying even though I was. It was more like, we can handle it. It was a lot of these experiences the last 10 days, maybe even longer, I'm sure, like 2-3 weeks. They're very intense. Mm-hmm. They're obviously personal, but it feels almost equally collective. So I said, I feel this galactic type of thread that's part of many threads, you know, but it's very close to us, and it's been around for a while. Yeah. And I said, well, I'm ready. We're ready. Yes. To hear more, to understand it more, right? Yes. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, in along the lines of what you said, you know, what did you say? The being prepared or being ready, I guess. Yeah. And that's a beautiful articulation. And really think about it. Being ready means that our frequency is saying yes, right? Because when we say yes individually,
things start to show up. It's the same thing collectively. When we say yes collectively, then we get this next iteration, the next level, whatever it is, right? And, you know, we've all had some piece, whatever Achilles heel, that we've had to really look at in this body. And for me, it was relationships.
And still look at.
Still look at, like, you know, like, damn
There's
it.
an ing on all of that. Still looking at.
Still looking. Because, you know, again, like we said, okay, I'll come and I'll look at this timeline. And many of us, like Egypt, for a great example. This Egypt timeline is all about relationships, and there was so much trauma. So it's kind of like, okay, let's pick up our stuff and run into the battle, you know, because it felt like that. And a lot of the remembrance was, oh, well, you know, I'm going to do it different this time, right? We're going to do it different this time. So it's making different choices on how we're going to be with each other, what's really important. Right.
And there's this whole like, okay, so like time is taking on a different role, and you could say it's fading.
Yeah.
Then you have other aspects of our experience, like intuition and telepathy.
Yeah.
A stillness, you know, a stillness in the mind, almost like more of a meditative, a walking meditation, or, you know, just it's becoming more of a constant.
Yes.
And we're starting to follow it. The body's speaking louder. So it's not, I don't know, there's something happening with the way we even talk to ourselves, the way we understand things. It's like, it's more like people talk about feeling and energetic. So I throughout the day, and I can imagine by what I'm picking up from doing what I do in the field and otherwise in the field, there's a lot of people twisting and turning, and there's short spurts of intense transformation.
Yes.
And what I'm getting for myself, because I can't even count, I'd have to say 20 a day or something.
Yes.
Like some knot that totally knock you on your ass for 5 minutes. But the thing that I'm following is what I would call the resistant energy within me.
Yeah.
That's easily detectable, because the ego's like, what the hell, you know, or whatever. And so you face it, and then you burn.
Yeah.
And then you get back up and go. And I'm finding that it's happening a lot. But my point is following that feeling of what I would describe as energetic resistance. It's almost like I'm saying, follow the shit to find the shift, you know, but there's some truth to that. You know what I mean?
Like a t-shirt. Yeah, very much. And, you know, you were saying, you know, moving in, when you were talking, I heard cycles, right? So I look at a lot of things as cycles. So just like 2012 and the 7-year cycle, because I felt at the end of 2019, we had finished a cycle, Todd. So what happened in 2020?
Is that right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. So the cycle, 2012, 12/21, 2012 to 12/21, 2019, that was a 7-year cycle. So if you look at how we operate collectively, look at the cycle, right? So I knew, because I said, oh, the cycle is ending. We're ready to implement now, because we've done all of the work. Now it's time to run it, just like a software program. Because I work in that field. I work as an architect in the quantum realm as one of my pieces, right? So we really started running the software.
Yeah.
And that's, if look at the whole 2020, remember those memes? What happened in January? What happened in February? So, right? It was
March was a tough year.
Yeah, March. Exactly. But it was like, remember, it was like, oh, we had war. There was things happening, right?
Yeah.
So 2020, before March, there were things happening, because that was us or the software, so to speak. I'm not talking about AI. This is organic because we all said yes.
Yeah.
Many of us said yes to this. So yeah, we're running the software.
Yeah,
because we have
exactly.
to see where's everybody at? How do we unplug this how do we unplug this program that has been running for so long?
By running the new software.
Exactly. We have to put the new software in. How do we bring in a new paradigm when we're still running on an old system, an old paradigm software? It really is like that. I used to be in the software business, Todd. I was in tech. This is like my third, reality. I was in software, tech, internet. I started a .com. I have a completely different background. So I used to be in tech. I would run tech. So it's an interesting movement because for me, it's all the same. It's all quantum.
Even though the tech, nomenclature, the tech vernacular, okay, in terms of how you describe it, even though it seems a bit AI-ish or insensitive or I don't know, like inhuman or something, there is really metaphorically, it might be the best way to actually get all this. Franco talks a lot about it in those terms.
Yes.
And, I talk about it more in a energetic term. Like to me, it's what I'm being told is you have to engage it. If you engage it, then it expands. And so now it's gotten to, what is that you're engaging? Well, it's my imagination. It's my intuition. It's my gut feeling. It's telepathy.
Yes.
It's synchronicity. It's, it's also now getting to a point where it's being connected, kind of like my friend and I were talking about it, and she pulled in like recognition, reconnection, and then I pulled in, I said, and acknowledgement. So like, we talk about embodiment a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm embodying, you're embodying, we are embodying together. In this moment, we say, hey, you know what? Here, let me show you my cards. Here's your cards. And that's really our code. And it goes boop, 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 because we're giving life and we're running that program and we're engaging that which we have not. Right?
Yes. Yes.
No,
Beautiful.
only as little kids until we were told it wasn't real.
Well, so looking at that analogy, and I will say that there has been, this kind of AI on the planet. But how do you create something that's an organic AI, right? It's different because we don't want to be run. We don't want to be controlled. This is the piece of that we know that we're moving out of. This is it, because without that freedom that we used to have. So when you're talking, I'm thinking of Atlantis, because that is one of the first remembrances that I had in 2012 was Atlantis. And so if I look at all the different pieces, I'm like, oh, we're just running the Atlantean stuff. And there's some beauty there, but also there's a control factor. So in a way, we're rewriting that story. We're rewriting. So I say New Atlantis, because there's a sense of returning to the water society, but without the distortion. So many of these timelines had so much distortion in them. As you know, we had to go in and actually, update, because there's no time in the way we see it. We can go in and affect a timeline that technically happened in linear time a long time ago, right? So
that was good. That was a good role. It makes me go, as you were saying that, you were finishing up, I said, time and tired only have one difference in the lettering. Tired is a product of time. I mean, you get tired because you go, oh, I've been up for 12 hours.
Yeah.
I don't even know why that came in, but it's somehow related. And to your point, it's like, everything's a paradox.
Yeah.
It's like, on one hand, we're the universal mutt to the nth degree. We're the epitome of being a mutt, right? I mean, by all dimensions, by all timelines. I mean, we're talking elemental and angelic and
Yeah.
galactic, and so you got that part of it,
Yeah.
and it's not just the Atlantean thing. We're involved somehow. Maybe it's a micro macro thing through us, through the body temple, through the universal,
Mhm.
the universal,
Yeah.
that we
Mhm.
contain everything, some kind of upgrade that you might call a universal correction, because it's far beyond me and you and the beautiful beloved Mother Earth. It's far
Yeah.
beyond that. It's affecting. It's literally like what some people will say when you, as a person, come into alignment. Let's say with a past trauma or a past relationship,
Mhm.
that it is corrected. The past is corrected
Yes.
in that present moment, and you know, and kind of future, past, and present kind of merge into one. Right.
Exactly, because you're making a different choice. I have talked about choice points
Hmm.
before, because I can feel collectively we're coming up against a new choice where we're going to go this way or this way,
Hmm.
right? And I'm seeing that collectively we're making better choices. And yes, 2020 was part of, let's see what happens, right? Are we really ready? We talk about all of these wonderful things, even on Facebook. Look at everything we talk about, but are we ready to actually actualize them?
Yeah.
You
Walk the
said,
talk. Walk the
yeah,
talk.
you say it.
Walk the talk. Rip the Band-Aid off. You
Rip the
know.
Band-Aid off. So 2020 was a collective rip off the Band-Aid.
Thank
Who
God.
are we really? Exactly. Thank God. Like I was like, all right, I see it. I've been waiting. Some of us have been waiting just
Yeah,
to
and
see.
it's like you know, when you take a Band-Aid off and you had
Yeah.
it on and it's real sticky, and
Yeah.
especially if it's tender, and when you take it off, it
Yeah.
hurts. Like the first half, you take off like
Yeah.
really slow because it hurts, and the
Yeah.
second half you just rip it off. So I guess we're actually in the ripping off the Band-Aid year in the second half, which is where it comes
Yeah.
off fast and furious and painless, really, at least
And
for a moment.
painless.
Yeah.
And this I just want to add, because also what came in 2020 was a very high level of compassion. So this isn't just, this isn't like a mean-spirited piece. This is about how do we balance, because we're being asked to rebalance. This is why the feminine showed up in
Mm,
2012.
mm.
It's a rebalance, and not just between men and women, but it's the old and the balanced, right? Because control doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
that part of our nature
Yeah.
is I mean, it's that part of our nature that's been suppressed. You could say it a lot of ways, but that's
Yeah.
needed, or that brings it. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. It's interesting too. See, there's no coincidences. There's a sequential unfoldment throughout our day,
Yes.
and it's like, I don't know. It's like a dotted line, and there's more dots filling in, and it's becoming like a solid line.
Yeah.
But so I had a brief exchange with my daughter just a few minutes ago, before the show, and
Oh, I
she get
saw her on the chat.
yeah, I saw that too. Yeah, and so she like telling me something that wasn't, that wasn't. It's one of those. It's our reality that we're trying to understand. Something maybe not good for going on with somebody or whatever the case is. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. And I said, the energies are very intense, and it's a good idea to stay on top of your stuff.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. And I said to her, and I wrote the words, just because it's this, right? Like it's a constant code exchange and revelation epiphany cycle. And I
Yeah.
just said, compassion is
Yeah.
up in a big time way. It's the order of the day. And that's true. I
Yeah.
mean, and again, we've said these things and we've heard these things, but to experience them is a totally different thing. And that
Yeah.
is this compassion, because of this gut wrenching energetic blasts that we're getting not daily, but several times daily. And it's bringing us to a greater compassion for ourselves. It's almost like everybody is eventually going to walk outside, strip all their clothes off, lay on the ground, spread eagle, and just say, by God, I surrender.
Yeah, surrender.
Think of the energetic force of the people doing that, even in a metaphorical sense. I mean, that's just, that's the stuff that multiverses are made of.
Yeah. Let's breathe that in. That's the full surrender, because I was hearing surrender, and that is like that divine mother energy that many of us hold, because it is like, with the children, it is the mother with the children, and it is that level of surrender, because as a parent, as and I have one, but man, he's a powerhouse. He's just turning 12 this month. And I mean, he's just like, get out of my way. Like, so, and I'm like, okay. But as a parent, you have to come into that balance with your child. It is a relationship with not just the divine, but who are they on the soul level, right? I know who he is. I know why he's here.
And then you have to, it's like being with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Because nothing can keep you rooted to being human and knowing you're on this freaking earth than your teenage kids, man.
That's the only time I know about time is when he's here and just navigating that space with him. But also, I've been speaking light language to him since he was a baby. On the other hand,
So how does he feel about it as you do it now?
So he's gone through phases where at one time he was like excited and he would speak it and he would write things. He's like, I'm writing it in your language, Mom. And I'm like, cool.
So now it's like, Mom, don't do that in front of my friends.
oh, please. I can't even talk to him in front of his friends. But he went through phases because his father and I are not together. And so I could tell that he was influenced by that. And so when I would speak, he would say, no, I don't want to hear that. And then he moved into, he would listen. And I tell him, honey, I have a message from you. Are you ready to receive it? And I would speak to him in language. So I know, because his subconscious knows, right? He knows why he's here.
Yeah.
And I think, and I guess that.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I got a very clear message when he turned 7 that I was moving from just mother to mom and teacher. That was a very clear message, because by the time they said he was 10, he would be in his full power. I'm getting chills.
So here's another example of engaging that energy, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got more physical form to it, and that's I really feel like these kids are going to come on a lot faster, and bigger, than we would ever think, which is really parallel to every aspect. But I mean, and part of the reason I say that is because there's so much emphasis, and again, here we go with the polarities, on protecting the children, but like you had the transition of becoming teacher and friend equal, in all levels, that same thing will occur as more and more parents do what you're talking about. And you're right. I mean, I had I think would have been an 11 and 12-year-old came off the streets after 2 years. Then I had them for 2 years and 8 months. So I had them at 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14. So these are 2 young, beautiful girls with brilliant minds who had lost their mother and been through a shitload of trauma.
Wow.
And their dad's been on the street for 2 years. I went through an education about a year of being dad, being Todd, downloaded Soulogy and be Soulogy every day. But as soon as the girls walked in, it was dad the shadowed man to
Oh
the program,
yeah.
you know.
They're like poke, 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 poke.
So, but you said something that was really profound, because you said, in other words, you ran with what you know that they know, even though at a human level they may not be conscious of it. Yeah, that
Yeah.
whole thing, you're going into that that womb, that
Yes.
unknown. There's, because it's not all known, but you're giving it life instead of giving the program a life. And it was about a year into it, and I met Morgan, and I quickly got, mostly I would say between the words, the what it is a divine feminine. Like,
Yeah.
like when you talked about it, came in
Yeah.
2012. And so I was like, okay, so I'll try this. So my house went totally disaster. I no longer cleaned. I only cooked. I didn't buy any box food or cans. And I told this story before. I don't want to tell it again. But my point is I did recognize their energy, was present with their energy. Everything changed. It was mass chaos, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I look back at that and then hear about what you're talking about with a 12-year-old in 2021. How many households is that occurring in around the world? Like, these kids are lit. I can't see their presence not being absolutely clear to everyone within 5 years.
Well, I tell you, Todd, thank you for sharing that. It's felt now. Like, I had my son for a month. His dad was out of the country, and so I had him full time. And two different people on different occasions both shared with me. One of them said, "I saw a picture of your son, and I know he's going to be on my council, Valerie." The other one, "Oh yeah," and I said, "I know. I've gotten that message many times, that what we're doing is we're returning when the children and the animals ruled in a beautiful way." That's the wrong word, but we're flipping. Flipping the script, because what's happened is we've had the adults, and we've had, of course, a very strong, patriarchal type of rule. But what's happening is it's the children and the animals. We're shifting back into that, with the adults, of course, holding the space. So when this woman, a beautiful sister, Francine, said that, she said, "When I saw your son, I knew. And I know who he is." And I said, "That makes total sense. That's completely in alignment with what I've heard." And then actually on 7/7, Todd, when we were supposed to be on the call, a friend showed up, a brother that had shown up right before I went to Egypt in 2017. And I said, "Oh, we're supposed to be talking then." And he came right when we were going to be speaking. And we had a complete interaction. He said, "Your son's been coming to me." And right? Non-linear. And so I knew both of those situations happened a couple days apart. The kids are ready. We have to give them the space, the resources, the connection. I always knew that what I was doing is setting the stage for the kids to walk in, setting up the infrastructure, releasing a lot of the distortion, rebalancing. So they, all the focus wasn't on one thing: how much money you make and where'd you go to school, and these, these very material things that really don't matter. They don't matter as much. It's not about that. How are we all feeling? Where is everybody's heart? Where's our mental health? These are things that we're working on. These are things that many of us have had to go through ourselves and bring back into center, into balance. 0 point, right? We're 0 pointing. That's really what we're doing here. And that's the magnetic frequency. I do talk about that. When you talk about inner earth, you talk about dragons and ley lines and what's happening right now with the ring of fire. Somebody asked me to talk about that. We're talking about a rebalance because, back in the day, there were shamans, and they knew if we're not in relationship with the planet, we will be destroyed. We will not be able to live on the surface. So it is a lot of alchemy. It's tuning into what she needs, right? What the planet needs. How are we going to live in concert with her? So this is the piece, because without that, we don't have a future here. This human species is one of many species that inhabit this planet. So so this is that larger conversation that, you know, a lot of us have had to have, and also go into the minutia, go into the minute. What is this about? What does this timeline need? Right? And these kids are masters, you know, Todd. They're like ready to roll.
Well, they're you know, they use that term woke now, which is so ironic, you know, in the mainstream. But that's the whole thing. Is you got this field of consciousness that's changing rapidly, that is very symmetrical and symbolic, and the child itself in physical form is the energetic embodiment of you know, our better angels, right? Our greater, our purity, and so on. And and it's and I'm just like, my download didn't come in. Mine came in really funny about it, and it was basically my kids. It was one kid of the kids, and it was like they were in this thing. It was like a pond of, I don't know, mud, right? And just the neck was sticking out. And she says, "Dad, I'm awake.
Yeah, I
can see how everything's so messed up." And I said, "Yeah, and you're standing on my shoulders."
Yeah.
To your point about about we have, you know, held the space for this to, you know, we have. Yeah. And it's almost like, too, you're going to have the same type of event that you have in, let's say, your relationship with your own parents. I mean, your parents are just people. They just happen to be your parents. And a lot of us, not everybody, has a relationship where the parents play a specific role of support. And at some point, there's a handoff.
Yes.
Like the parents become children and the children become parents. Well, I think that it's entirely plausible that we could be entering a period where we actually go to little Johnny at 6 years old and say, "What do you think we should do now?"
Yes, exactly. And that's why they need to be on the councils, Todd. They need to have a voice. They need to understand. They're not, you know, and I've said that to Jake, is his name. I said, "Honey, you know, you're a new earth leader." He goes, "I know."
They do know.
They do know. And I'm like, okay, like everything that I have, you know, shared with you, all of this, you know, you'll know when you're ready. You might not be ready right now because he's a total gamer, which is a whole nother discussion.
Well, but there's a connection there. And
again, there is. Yes.
When you said that just about 2 sentences ago, that's the first thing I thought of. Because a lot of people will be like, our kids, they're addicted to these games. There is a fusion of physical and non-physical, truth and illusion at every level. These kids, there may have been an ill intention even to set these games up and control and all that. But there is a thread always of truth in everything, and these kids are on it. That's why I said, think about the energy that, and I'm not saying what people should do or shouldn't do. I'm just making a point. But imagine the amount of energy, of concern for children, for the energy of a child all around this earth.
Yeah.
Now, there's a compassion component there that is part of our natural nature, but there is an earth bred out of love kind of thing that creates, that perpetuates separation. So this is some really high level stuff that we're working out on an individual basis that we should be able to see in the collective. And, you know, the last example I give is, you know, there was a lot of talk about the last couple of years. They would talk about, and they still do actually. They've got Hillary Clinton and all these people over at Guantanamo Bay, and they're all clones now. And I'm not saying anything's right or wrong. I'm just making a point. And that they've been executed.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember those threads.
And they're still out there. I saw one the other day. I'm like, well, yeah, so whatever. But my point is the energy. It's the energy. So I immediately went to, which is what we're all doing. You take it to yourself. And this was a while back. And I'm like, okay. Because there's a part of you going, yeah, you know. And that's the part that worries about the child, right? And then I said, wait a minute. wait a minute. What about compassion? Like
Yeah.
whatever's going to happen in the distorted movies that plays, right? There's going to be a lot, it seems, because everything's expanding. But I think at the same time, we're going to be driven to deeper and deeper states of compassion
Yes.
for everything, no matter what the hell what devil it played in your life. I mean, we're talking about some serious, deep level walk the talk. Shift or get off the pot.
Yeah.
And you can check out anytime you want. And it's not, and there's no judgment, no nothing, no harm, no foul. But this is what we set up. So
Yes.
let's see what we're made of.
Yes, totally. We did. I just want to address Zana. Is it Zana? Because
Yes.
she's talking about the kids and the addictions and what have you. So I just want to say, I mean, there still has to be a balance, which is why I say organic.
Yes.
And they're also, if you look at the kids, their frequency is high. They come in with a high frequency. And so if you look at linear time or the 3D spectrum, it runs very slow.
Yeah.
So in some ways, it's too slow for a lot of the kids, which is why they turn to addiction, besides games are one thing, but they turn to things because they're here to create a new reality.
Yeah.
So there is, if you look at, like my son, he runs very high frequency, he always has, right? He used to walk on his toes. So I knew who he was. And so I think it's just to look at the different levels and what the purpose of, each person is, because we all have a different purpose. And this is another piece. Everybody goes to the same school, but not everybody, is here to do the same thing. And so it's really looking individually at the soul and who they are and why they're here.
Yeah.
Right. We're calling them in. They're coming in.
Well, I mean, yeah. And I think the point of what you're saying is, and it is twofold, and everything is twofold. So here we go again with the paradox of the polarities, which is one and the same. I mean, it's like a cosmic paradox. It's like a new definition of paradox. But you got a great point. I mean, you got ADHD and Asperger's and that are these signs, not what obviously what they're labeled as, but this is high frequency energy that needs stimulation, right? So on one hand, you obviously they can go into that realm, they can meet the needs of their operating system. And I think often, I know I've had, I have 6 kids and they had, some of them had video game phases, but it's like they go through one realm and they conquer it, master it. And there's got to be something to be said for attaining mastery when you're basically matching your frequency with that which you're working with, right? It's almost like school, right? But then on the other hand, like with all of us, addiction becomes a very broad thing, far beyond what we might think of, which is really distraction. And you're right, it can become a distraction. Yeah.
Exactly. And I, sit with that. And like you said, is it a phase? Because a lot of people say, oh, he's 12, it's a phase, right? Yeah. And also, but I see, because he was diagnosed not with, with ADHD, he's run very high because he's a high frequency being. So the goal, and at least for me, it's like, how do I balance this, right? Because he's here in a body, and I tell him, honey, you're in a body, you chose to come here, right? Like, you're seeing one reality, but there's so much more here. So that's why I speak to the subconscious. I speak to who he is, because his human self is still figuring things out.
Yeah.
But I know one day, because this is what happens when you talk to the subconscious, one day when things drop in, because we collectively have agreed that we want to see a different reality, he will show up with all of this knowledge. And I do work on him. So I'm very clear about, what does he need? And the gaming, he's escaping. I said, honey, look, we live at the beach. Let's go outside. Look, it's beautiful. It's nirvana. He goes, I'm in nirvana right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That reminds me of this show I saw the other day, and the kid was walking out of the house, and the mother said, "When will you be back?" And he said, "When I get back." And I thought, part of me wanted to go, if my kid had said that, and then I thought, wow, that's just genius. Like, that says so much, right?
Yeah,
that's the frequency. It's like, there is no time. What are you talking about? I'll be back when I'm back.
He goes, I'm in heaven. Like because he starts summer school tomorrow, but he's been on break. And I said, okay, he's getting exactly what he wants to do. It's going to end soon because, he's going to take some, right? So I really have to hold the space, and this is challenging, and it's, we still have our issues because he's very strong-minded. So it is more challenging to kind of be and say, okay, I'm still in this world, and I'm your mom, and how do I kind of navigate this? It's not cut and dry. It's not cut and dry at all.
No, it's not, because it's. I started Soulogy with those two girls, and they saw something. They saw something. I mean, they knew me. I didn't go anywhere. I was like everybody else. I stayed in the house and just, other than the spirit walks. But I remember them coming down one night. I was curled up on the couch crying because I slept in the studio because I was depressed because I didn't think I was doing enough. And they're like, it's going to work. We've seen it. And then, but still on Friday, they would walk in. We had a back entrance into the kitchen, and I'd be in the kitchen making something. Every Friday they'd come in with certain plans. And I remember having these futile conversations with this higher intelligence that was being presented to me in double form, feminine and young. So less tainted in that high frequency, and thinking to myself, and I think I even asked him, I said, you really respect what I'm doing. Like, I can tell you believe in what I'm doing in me. But at the same time, you also feel like I don't know shit. Like that, your parents are stupid thing.
Oh God. Yeah, he calls me a boomer. I'm like, what?
Right. A boomer, like a baby boomer?
No, it's a boomer. It means I'm old.
Well, okay.
That's the new term. That's the kids' term, the boomer. And I'm like, you have no idea. I said, I started in computers in 1987 or something.
Right.
So
amazing. Do you want to do anything? Do you want to do? I know you did some light language. Do you feel like whatever you want to do? I mean, it's
okay.
It's up to you.
Yes, I what I was thinking. What was coming through was source seeds, and I've been talking about seeds. Source seeds. It feels like a blueprint. So yeah, I'd love to do an activation. Okay. Everybody's game. Something wants to come through. I'm trying to turn my music down. It won't turn down. So I guess it's supposed to be there.
You're fine.
Okay, good.
I can't hear it.
So source seeds, when I think of that, it's a frequency. It's some of the original blueprints. And I don't know if I'm a boomer. I was born in 1967. I think I was right after, right?
Yeah, you're after.
I'm a different generation. But I think I'm also... It was Summer of Love, 1967. So
that was an incredible year. That was
it? Okay.
That was I was 5-6 years old, but I had older aunts and uncles.
Right. Do you remember that?
Cousins, and of course, it was like the most. I mean, it reminds me. There was definitely like a spiritual or an energetic. Founding period. It was very chaotic. It was it was full of passion and love and optimism and freedom and sovereignty. And of course, but so that's I had never thought about that. But Morgan's born. I know my sister's born that year. I know quite a few people. 67 is a powerful
67, year. Right? So so
Misha Smiley was January 1st, 1960.
I saw that. That's important. I was in May, so I was in the summer, and I'm from Orange County, so I was born in California, like Summer of Love in Southern California.
Exactly.
I mean,
California was like the coolest state.
Was it? I know.
In the 60s, the skateboarding, the surfing, the music.
67 was Woodstock. Okay, no, that was 69. Okay, I thought so. I was going to say. Okay, so with all that, so source seeds, I'm seeing them go in the third eye. So I'm going to kind of tune that in. A lot of the gold frequency has been coming in, which when I see that, it means that we are bringing in a higher harmonic, right? As an alchemy. So I'm going to bring some source seeds is what wants to come in. So you can just take a deep breath if you want to, but I'm going to be working in the third eye. Okay. I'm going to tap my third eye. I have a little thing on. I wanted to be on today. Esa tahundal da tahunda. Kamba tahutu durunda. Ndama hunda la rutai ko atai ko. Enda nahando runda kauta. Te tamba ka utanda kala. Etamba nohondai kaiko. Etandoranda lahoto. Many of us are carrying the source seeds for this next generation. Tiambarunda koalda. Setamba ka utaika. We're going to be asked to use our third eye much more, right? This is how we communicate with each other because we all come from these original source seeds. Tatokansai kala into takaldai koonda nentandela tanda ka ukai alaka tetsamboronda, because we are all shades of human. That's what hue. We're all different hues. And that's part of what we say the rainbow tribe, because we're carrying the different seeds, the different hues, right? Takamba toranda ketal, satukanso fronda nahanda, chamba buhande kauta, tiambahanda kauta sauta. Etahodai kokolanda. Sambando handa kakala teto. And I was born here in Turtle Island in that time of year to bring forth a lot of these different rainbow codes, which is why I speak many different languages. They all carry a certain frequency. To restore some of the original blueprints, because we carry a very high blueprint. The human is a very high level soul. We've just been modified in some ways from our original creation. So some of this, the creation codes, so to speak, are original codes because we carry these. We are divine. We are divine human. So some of this restoration has been about that, right? Releasing the old programming and trauma and codes, and then allowing the new to show up. And so we have come from different realities, so to speak, carrying these seeds within us and planting them in many ways, in the physical and in the etheric, for this next evolution of our species and also of the planet. So, so it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here,
Thank
here.
you.
And so it is.
And so it is. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you so much,
it's
everybody.
how do we get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
I do. It's just my full name, ValerieElster.com. I'm on Facebook a lot, so you can send me messages on there. I'm very close to my friends limit, so you could just follow me for updates. Definitely reach out. I love hearing everybody. Thank you, everybody. I know everyone was asking questions and some messages, so I'll respond after the live. But yeah, please reach out if you have questions.
So just give us a quick synopsis of somebody. I think it was 7/8. What, that have been 3 days ago? 7/8.
Yeah.
I think it was 7/8. It's
Very
either
much
7/8 or 7/9. I woke up and I said, wow, I made it through that 7/7, man. I mean, like 7/7 came and it just killed me. And I was like, I made it, man. And then somebody said, I read something, I was sharing posts to the group and something about Lionsgate.
Yes.
And I went, oh man, like, oh my God. And the way they were talking about it, they were talking about the period, like 7/7 just marked the period of this 30-day cycle that ends on 8/8. I'm thinking, oh man, like, come on. So do you have any feeling for the Lionsgate?
Yes, I would say, look at my post. I wrote yesterday, frameworks coming in. I felt them starting to come in for 8/8 Lionsgate and 12/21. Okay, so that's an important date because that's also the winter solstice, divine union codex, and a return of the solar consciousness. So I really saw, and we've talked about divine unions. You're in one. I've been in several. And it's about bringing together in a high level of love. And that's really how we bring in these new constructs. It's through the heart. And I was going to mention before, my son is a warrior through and through. But I said, it's not about being, war anymore. You're a warrior of the heart. It's bringing back that true essence of, why people were fighting in the first place. It has to come from the heart. So it is a return of the solar consciousness. We are moving from a lunar consciousness to solar. And so 7/7 to 8/8 is very much about solar and the sun in Egypt.
That's the Father. It's the Father.
The Father. Yes.
I mean, not only have we had obviously a suppression of that energy you were talking about.
Yeah.
That's the feminine, the goddess, the mother goddess. But we've also, in some weird math of the universe, because you would think there was a vast majority of masculine, which really was patriarchal. We know that. But those gifts of the Father are coming on.
Yeah.
Okay. Or you might say the gifts of the masculine. That energy is coming on.
Oh, yeah.
Like she came online in 2012. Like, seriously, that energy is coming online.
Yes.
That's mind blowing. It is that divine union codex.
Yes.
Within yourself. I mean, it's happening.
Yes.
I feel like it's happening. It hasn't happened.
It's happening.
I mean,
it's the seeds, Todd. Source seeds. The male, you guys carry the seeds. Yeah. Right? So the power of that and the power of the masculine in its pure essence, pure form. Yeah. Right?
It's
We're the receivers. You guys are it's a different energy.
Yes.
So,
it is. Yes.
So in a way, it's the cosmic womb receiving these, divine masculine seeds.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. It is happening.
My friend I talked to today, I hope she doesn't mind. So what happened was, there's like 5 or 6 or 8 different ladies, like Melina Ferguson, Kristen Van Mazet, but they'll have, and Yvette Joulet, they'll have like a vision of me, right? Or something, once in a blue moon. And so I had this thing happen to me. And what happened was I was laying on the couch this morning, and of course I was on my ass. I mean, all that stuff was happening. The physical body's just like going, and I'm laying on the couch going, okay, what's going on? Like, can we connect? Boom. I was there. And it was like, I was being shown literally what to do step by step. And immediately this part of me got up and goes, okay, I got to go do this. And it was like, no, just watch this movie. And then I got to go write it down. No, just watch this movie.
Just be there.
And I did, and it showed me. And then there was like this triangle in my like my higher heart kind of area, in the heart area. And it started to spin clockwise. And then it just did all this crazy geometry stuff. And I thought, oh, wow, that was cool. Moral to the story, just keep doing what you're doing. There's a little bunch of stuff going on, and this is what it's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
And so then my friend had I woke up, and then my friend had sent me this message, and she said, oh, I had this thing happen twice, and here's what happened.
Yeah.
And without getting into all of it, the basis of it was this triangle, right? Now so there was picture just the triangle.
Yeah.
Now the next picture is the triangle. And then within the triangle, there's 3 dots in a triangle, but it's upside down like okay. Then the next picture is the little dotted triangle moves fully into the triangle, which is inside of a circle, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we shared that, and I said, oh, I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and what you're saying reminds me of it. So the fact is the circle is the womb. The circle is the abyss. It's what I call the holy darkness. It's the mother goddess. I mean, it's the womb. It is creation, period.
Yes.
And creation can't create anything because it's creation. So what happened? So what I saw in this mutual transmission, there was a bunch of other like galactic stuff, but I saw that the mother, the womb, created this image. Well, first, of course, it was the triangle, which was her. That was her in form. Then the upside down with the outline was her mirror.
Yes.
Right. This is the creator aspect that was kind of put into motion as a result of her imagination. The same thing we're talking about, like, engaging. And so when the two, so they have the moment of union, and then it moves into, it's fully inside. That's when you have the new birth, right? But it reminded me of what you said, so
beautiful.
Yeah. I heard somebody calling your name.
Oh yeah.
You're probably in trouble.
Hi, Dave. Oh, I'm on a call.
Yeah. So listen, thank you for letting me explain all that. Yeah.
Thank you, Todd. And that's beautiful. And that's the alchemy, right? That's really what that masculine feminine is about.
Yeah.
It's an alchemy of beingness.
Yeah.
And we've remembered, why we're here. And that is, when I say the purity, it is that source consciousness that we're remembering. This, beyond the physical vessels, it is that creation and co-creation.
Yeah.
And that's what's really happening. So
yeah, that's key. Co-creation is key.
Right?
Yeah. I enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Me too.
It's always good to
Thank
catch up
so
with
much.
you. You guys check her out, ValerieElsner.com and Valerie A. Elsner on Facebook.
Thank you so much
Peace out,
for having
everybody.
me. Love you,
Take
Todd. Love
care.
everybody. Thank you.